Welcome back to me reading Transported a Wings of Fire story. This time, chapter 36. As usual, if this is your first time watching this little series, I recommend you to watch the previous chapters or read them yourself. Now let's begin. This chapter's name is A Perilous Plan. It was early in the morning when the first gong rang to signify the start of classes. Normally, Daniel and the rest of the winglet would be heading to history, but not today, because instead they had a nice warm meeting with Tsunami. Down in the very back of the halls of the school lied Tsunami's office, and was where everyone except Pearl was getting a scolding. What in your crazy minds were you thinking? You can't just straight up leave school. Tsunami bellowed at the six dragonettes who were sitting in front of her. Well, miss, in our defense, we did manage to bring you a new student, Daniel pointed out. Tsunami's voice died down in volume, though she was still extremely angry. Yes, but that doesn't excuse you for what you've done, Hurricane. She sighed as she looked to all of them. Look, I don't mean to sound bossy. Trust me, I've already had enough of dragons like that. But your parents or caretakers have left you in my hands for the year. So I'm responsible for your safety. What am I supposed to tell them if you go off and get yourself hurt? Or even worse, killed? She sat back against the wall. The wall hole. Like WHOLE. Oh boy. We love typos to make us laugh. While whole, everyone else, I think he meant to say while everyone else looked down to the floor, except for Daniel, who kept eye contact with her. Well, since my parents are dead and I don't have a caretaker, what are you supposed to do with me then, huh? Daniel asked. This came as a bit of a shock to everyone, including Tsunami. But Daniel kept it as casual as he could. If this whole thing is about our parents leaving us in your hands, then what about me? Tsunami looked at him. However, even she knew she didn't have a proper answer for him, so she just kept it honest. Well, nothing really. It's optional for you since we're not obliged to keep you here. Though I would highly recommend staying. You've already made some friends here at Jade Mountain, and you'll be able to learn many things here. Daniel looked at her, content with her answer. All right then. So what do we have first? Tsunami smiled at his comment before she answered him. Well, I don't think it's worse to go to history since we're already close to the end of the lessons. So your next lesson will be... She looked through some unorganized scrolls before she finally said, here we go. Oh, and how convenient. Your next class is hunting. With me. I'll meet you guys outside when the next gong rings, she said with a smile. Daniel nodded. All right then. When is that? Tsunami looked to him. I'm not sure, actually. Based from when the first gong rang, I'd say maybe 15 or so minutes from now. I'll dismiss you guys so you can get ready. Okay, then. Thanks. Daniel said before he added out of the cave. Sure. Whatever. Before he added out of the cave and down the already too familiar halls of Jade Mountain. He made his way back to his sleeping cave and sat down on his stone lee ledge. Okay, but not before warming it up with some fire. The others soon sat down inside the cave. Keebly and Winter on their respective ledges, and Turtle on his one above Daniel's. Star had been moved to the girls' cave next door, and it was now officially part of the winglet, and the first hybrid in the school. So now Daniel, Winter, Keebly, and Turtle all shared a cave, while Moon, Kikajou, and Star shared another. And if course, Pearl was still sleeping in Clay's room. Soon, everyone else, including Pearl and Star, who were waiting outside, entered the cave. Daniel sighed deeply as he looked to everyone else. They each had the same sad look of empathy as they stared at him. He had told them what had happened with the gatekeeper last night, and how Keebly's siblings had stolen the bag from him. So what's the plan then? Moon suddenly spoke to him. Daniel looked confused. How did she know? Isn't the Skyflyer blocking? Oh, right. It got stolen along with my other stuff. Daniel looked into Moon's eyes. She returned a sad look. Because of her mind reading, she knew how valuable that bag was, and how Daniel blamed himself for losing it. Moon shook her head. So what's the plan, Hurricane? Moon asked then, this time catching Daniel's attention. Huh? What's the plan to get the bag back? Moon asked for a third time. I know you're upset. I've seen your thoughts. So what's the plan? Daniel sighed. I really don't know. We just got back from skipping already, so I doubt they'll let us go out again that easily. Well, I mean, if I remember correctly, tomorrow is the weekend, Winter pointed out. We got 2 days off to go and visit family and whatnot, as long as we're back in time for class. That's true. And the Scorpion Den is relatively close by. If we leave tonight, when the moons are out, we should be able to get in and out with what we need to get back in time for classes. Then that's the plan. We can start making preparations early, so we're ready when night falls, Turtle said, and everyone else nodded. Everyone except for Daniel. Whoa. Guys, aren't you taking this a bit too fast? Like, it's the Scorpion Den, for crying out loud. Probably one of the most dangerous places in Pyrea. Not to mention, we'll need to steal from Keebly's family. He looked at Keebly. His face had gone a little pale as he realized what they were really dealing with. See? Daniel exclaimed. It's a suicide mission. He's got a point, Winter interjected. Now, I don't know much about the Scorpion Den regarding Keebly's family and such, but I do know that it's littered with thieves and assassins. That's true, Keebly confirmed, unless we find a fitting cloak for each of us and the skills of master assassins within the next few hours, we're completely screwed to try to steal anything. However, it was then that Turtle coughed loudly. Daniel glared at him, as he knew exactly what he was going to say next. No, you're not using your animus magic for something like this. Your soul's too precious to be wasted on a simple, worthless bag. Bro, I could just magic the bag into my talons in the blink of an eye. I don't see what the issue is. We can literally avoid this whole mess, Turtle shouted as he flared his arms. Dragons don't have arms. They got 4 legs and 3 legs. Dragon merged and ruined. Let's continue. As he flared his arms in the air. Well, not exactly, Keely said. If my siblings took the bag, then it's probably with my grandfather. And knowing him, he also probably has animus power on his side. He's also clever. On the things he wishes to keep safe, he would probably force his animus minions to enchant them to be immune to animus magic. Do you know for sure? Turtle asked. Because if it's just a guess, we could save us a huge amount of flying energy with a snap of my claws. He didn't let it up. It was almost as if he wanted to use it, to prove to Daniel he was truly okay. Turtle, Daniel pleaded, please don't. Even if it does work, what will the cost be on your soul? Daniel was pleading with everything he had at this point to convince him not to use it. You don't want to end up like Albatross, do you? I mean, look at an enemy. Her personality is rotten to the core. And what do you think caused that? She was definitely not like that when she hatched. Turtle looked at Daniel before looking down at his claws. I'm not like her. I swear. His voice was much quieter than before, which told Daniel he was breaking through to him. I know you're not. But you will be if you use your power too much, Daniel said. Turtle sighed. But what if I used it for good? I could help. Hope filled his eyes as he looked at Daniel. He sighed deeply. Look, it's your power, and if you want to use it, it's up to you. But please be careful. I don't want to see you be the one with the bloody knife in this generation. Mm-hmm. Daniel pointed to the blade which Turtle clutched in his talon. He had hidden it in the cave along with Daniel's sickle before the first gong rang, and luckily for them, on body had found the weapons. Huh? Yeah, sure, whatever. At least not yet. Turtle Glay Turtle gazed at the blade as it shone back menacingly. He met Daniel's eyes again, which were filled with worry. Oh, be careful. I promise you that, Turtle said finally. Daniel closed his eyes before he finally spoke. Fine. If you want to cast an enchantment now, then do so. But make sure it's worth it for the cost for the soul you're losing. Turtle nodded. Keebly, you said we wouldn't last if we didn't have the proper skills and equipment, right? Yes, that's correct. Why do you ask? Keebly responded, lifting one of his brows. Well, I just have the thing then, Turtle said, as he walked over to the corner of the room and pulled out a loose stone. The others looked down with a bit of surprise. Now, when exactly did you do this? Moon asked, not questioning his motives. Oh, I did this when they were all asleep last night. He pointed to Winter, Keebly, and Daniel. Ah, here it is, Turtle exclaimed as he took out a brown bowl from the inside of the wall. A bowl? Winter asked skeptically. You did all that for a bowl? It was clear he was starting to have his doubts. Not just any bowl, Turtle reassured him. I enchanted this to duplicate whatever I put in it. For example, Keebly, can I borrow your earring, please? Keebly was confused, but intrigued nonetheless. So he took the yellow ring off his ear and gave it to Turtle, who placed it in the bowl. At first, nothing happened, but then Turtle spoke aloud. Twice as much? Twice as much, please. Almost immediately, the ring split into two, like some Harry Potter voodoo. Oh, yeah, sure, whatever. You couldn't blink, or you'd miss it. But now in the bowl lay two identical earrings. He took them both out, and then handed them to Keebly, who had a face of amusement. Neat, right? He said, as he dropped one of his on the earrings in Keebly's talon, while he kept the other one to himself. He kept the other one himself. Yeah, no kidding. Exactly. So if you don't mind giving me the cloak you just randomly showed up with a few days ago, can make 8 of them for all of us. You mean 7, Turtle interjected, because the second you put that thing on me, it'll be burnt to a crisp. Turtle frowned. It was true. She couldn't put on a cloak, or it would burn. But then Turtle had a brilliant idea. Wait, wasn't it your hatching day a little while ago, bro? He asked, switching the subject. Turtle was puzzled at sudden off-topic question. Sure, whatever. At sudden off-topic question. Yes. Why do you ask? She raised a brow towards him. Turtle smiled. Well, in that case, I should probably give you a hatching day gift. He closed his eyes and muttered something under his breath, which nobody could understand. He opened them again. Done, he said with a smile. Pearl looked at him again, this time with double the confusion she had last time. What do you mean? Turtle grinned. Hold your talon out and just imagine channeling your fire into it. Let the fire leave the rest of your body. All right, Turtle said wonderingly. Meanwhile, Daniel looked up with wide eyes. Turtle, did you just do what I think you did? Turtle nodded excitedly, and Daniel couldn't help but smile too. Everyone else also looked at Pearl with wide eyes and a toothy smile. Even Winter had a slight grin at the news. Pearl, however, didn't understand anything. What? What happened? What did he do? Is this like some sort of joke I'm not getting here? She asked wonderingly. Maybe this will explain it, Turtle said, and before she could react, he threw himself into her, hugging her with his wings. Whoa, what are you doing? You'll die if you touch me, Pearl screamed. However, instead, Pearl simply looked down at her sea-wing friend. Turtle definitely did not die, or get burned in any way for that matter. Instead, just looked at Pearl as he continued to hug her tightly. Pearl was completely baffled. What? How is this possible? You should be dead by now. Turtle simply shook his head and gestured to Pearl's talon. Pearl looked over to it. Instinctively, she always threw her talons and every part of her body back in fear of accidentally burning someone else. However, then she saw it. Her talon was quite literally on fire, like she held all the fire in her body into one talon. Because of the mass amount of heat and energy, small flames erupted from in between her scales. Suddenly, Turtle interrupted her moment. I enchanted you to be able to control your fire scales. You can channel them to any part of your body just by thinking. Turtle was still too amazed by what Turtle was saying to answer. So instead, she just tried it out herself. Tried it out for herself. Her scales lit up and died down like a soft, warm light show as she moved the fire around in her body. Finally, she moved it back to her tail, so her entire front body was fire free. I'm not great with casting spells, so I know it's not perfect, but Turtle started, but was interrupted when Pearl hugged him. Thank you, she whispered softly. My bad. Thank you. She whispered softly, yet extremely happy, as she shed a tear of joy, which ran down her face without evaporating for the first time in her life. Soon they parted the hug, as Pearl took a deep breath, letting her natural, fiery scales take over again. It's perfect. It's the best gift I've ever received. Probably one of the only ones I've ever received. But nonetheless, Turtle smiled. Now you can wear the cloak with no issues. Pearl nodded. However, I am curious. Can I fully turn my fire scales off? Pearl asked before quickly adding, it's clearly fine if not. I don't want to sound picky. What you've done for me, I can never repay. Turtle only laughed. Yes, you can. However, it's totally dependent on your mood, Turtle explained. If you're calm, you can control the intensity of the flame. Basically, turn it down to where it's unnoticeable. And what happens if I get angry? Turtle asked, now slightly worried. You won't be able to control them as easily, and you'll definitely not be able to turn them off. And in some extreme cases, it may even become more powerful, Turtle said. Pearl looked at him, wide eyes. She couldn't imagine her fire scales becoming more powerful than they already were. Turtle looked up sadly. I'm sorry. I didn't know how to word it properly, so I did it based on emotions, which I now realized was really stupid. The cave fell silent for a moment before Pearl broke it. Hey, it's completely fine, Turtle. You gave me an opportunity to feel things without destroying them for the first time in my life, Pearl said surprisingly softly. She took the fire away from her talon and placed it on his shoulder. If that comes with some downsides, then so be it. I'll learn to deal with it. Besides, if I do get angry, I'll probably end up burning myself, so it'll serve as a reminder. Turtle's eyes went wide, as so did Daniel's. Though Daniel remembered that Pearl was known to have some uncanny ability to make the most non-reassuring things in any given situation. So honestly, this made sense for her to say something dumb like that. He looked over to catch Moon staring at him again. Reading his mind, he shot her a blank expression. I'm not wrong, am I? Daniel said telepathically. Moon gave him one of those, that's true, looks before they were all interrupted by the sound of approaching talons. Quickly upon hearing this, Pearl moved away from the others and activated her scales as to not draw suspicion from whoever it was that was approaching. It was a good thing she did that as soon Tsunami popped her head into the room. Hey, sorry, but apparently something came up with one of the other classes, and I need to see what's going on, so I won't be able to teach you guys hunting today. Oh, really? What happened? Moon asked. Tsunami sighed. My sister Anemone is being an idiot with her magic and herbs and healing, and so Clay okay, Clay AD, sure, whatever. Clay Ad requested me to talk some sense into her. That's going to be a hassle. Daniel marked shot her a oh boy, no typos. As shot her a good luck expression. Tsunami wasn't amused. I'm sure I'll manage. Thank you very much. She rolled her eyes before continuing on with her announcement. As for you guys, since there's no teacher for you, and you have a free study period next, and then lunch, and then herbs and healing with Clay, though I doubt he'll want to teach after dealing with an enemy, which means she frowned as she realized what this meant, and Daniel smiled with a large smirk, which means we don't have any more lessons for today, do we, miss? Stormy didn't say anything. She only sighed before muttering, lucky it's what you guys are. She then walked away to deal with an enemy's annoying shenanigans. Daniel spoke once she left. So, I'm going to take that as a yes to no more classes today. Yes! Winter yelled. Moons, I really did not want to do anything today. But you never want to do anything, Keeley joked, and Winter slapped him with his wing for that one. All right, well, if that's it then, I want to go and feel some things outside for its first time, Pearl said. Pearl said, excited. Oh, cool. I'll come join you guys, Star said, being so quiet that Daniel forgot she was even there. Again. I need to learn the layout of this place. Anyways, so outside may be a good starting point. Oh, I'll come too, Kikajal squealed, and already everyone was preparing to leave for the outside. However, that's when Turtle said something. Oh, wait just a second, though. I want to check something. He said, oh, yeah? And what's that? Daniel asked curiously as he got up from his stone ledge. However, then something caught him by surprise. Suddenly, Turtle clawed at his face as if he was trying to attack him. But this wasn't what shocked him. It was what came after. And almost like a sort of flash, Daniel's body seemed to work on its own. He couldn't really explain it. Quickly, Daniel ducked under Turtle's vicious swipe as he used his tail to sweep his legs from under him. On Turtle's way down, he caught his open talon, pulling it up slightly to change his falling course of rotation, so he ended up on his stomach instead of his back. Finally, Daniel pinned him with one arm against his back in a painful position. In a matter of moments, Turtle went from swiping at Daniel to lying face down on the ground. A few moments after that happened, Daniel got off of him and tried to process what just happened. The others all looked as frightened and surprised as he did. What was that, Hurricane? Winter yelled of shock. I don't know. I never done anything like that, Daniel said as he looked down at his talons. It was like I already knew what to do, even if I've never done it. Does that make sense? The others still looked at him. However, soon Turtle got up and said something which made them all turn to him instead. Well, I guess that means it worked then. Daniel whipped around. Excuse me? What do you mean? What worked exactly? Turtle smiled. Do you really think Pearl's Hatching Day gift was the only spell I casted? Turtle shook his head. Keebly, you said you wouldn't be able to get anything done in the Scorpion Den if we didn't have the skills, right? Keebly nodded. Yeah, that's right. If you don't have the skills to sneak around the place, or even just to fight properly, then we'll be dead meat. He took a pause. But what does that have to do with Hurricane suddenly pinning you? And why did you even attack him in the first place? Turtle giggled. I'm surprised you haven't figured it out yet. But I fixed the skills of Master Assassin's issue that you said we needed. Then it clicked and Daniel said, wait, no, you didn't. Daniel yelled with fear, but Turtle only laughed. Yeah, I did. I gave us all the skills of assassins, so we would be able to get what Vulture stole from Hurricane back. Now everyone's eyes went wide. Turtle, what about your soul? Daniel cried. Please tell me you only did it on a few of us. Turtle gave him a look of idiocy. Didn't you hear me? I said I gave it to all of us. Daniel looked at him in the eyes. Why? Why would you do that? Daniel growled. What else am I supposed to do? Just let you waltz in there with no fighting skills whatsoever? You'll die! Turtle yelled. Yeah, but I could at least try. And you wouldn't have to waste your soul like this. Daniel shouted back. You would die if you went in with nothing. Turtle screamed, trying to get some common sense through to him, though nobody, not even Daniel, expected what came out of his mouth next. And who cares if I die, huh? I don't have anyone! Daniel screamed, tears rolling down his cheeks as he fell to the ground in sadness. I don't have anyone. My parents are dead. My sister is missing. I never even got to say goodbye. Tears ran down his cheeks, creating a small puddle on the floor. So I don't care. I don't give a crap if I die. Because then I'll see them again. And it's not like anyone cares about me anyways. He fell silent before he looked up at a shocked turtle, who looked like he was also about to cry. Hurricane. He tried as he put out a talon, though Daniel then got up. Forget it. I'm sorry for yelling at you, Turtle. I know you were only trying to help. Daniel apologized, but as he turned to leave, Keeley stopped him. Where do you think you're going? You're not planning on doing this yourself, are you? He said as he pushed Daniel back onto his ledge. Guys, listen. Daniel protested, but was interrupted. No, you listen here. You're our friend now, and we care about you. All right? Pearl said strongly. If we didn't, we wouldn't have bothered to go all the way to the Ice Kingdom and back for a literal scroll, which now has been stolen. Exactly. And you do have dragons who care. You have us. And we'll be with you all the way, Moon said with a smile. I mean, now that Turtle gave us these skills, we're kind of forced to, Winter pointed out. But after a glare from Star, he added, nonetheless, we're all by your side. We'll all be by your side. Really? You'll stay with me? Even after all the trouble I put you guys through? Daniel asked, bewildered as he wiped a tear from his eye. Yeah, of course we will, Kikijaman put it. Isn't that right, guys? Everyone added. So what do you say? Turtle asked with a determined smile. You ready to crash a compound? Keeley added. Daniel looked up at all of them as he grabbed the sickle the gatekeeper gave him from a hidden loose stone below the edge. He smiled devilishly as he flipped the sickle in his talon, part of his face shining menacingly in its perfection. You bet I am. And that is the end for the chapter. As always, the author's note at the very bottom. Hello, everyone! I hope you guys are doing well. Now, I know this chapter wasn't very action-filled like the other ones, but hopefully it is still entertaining. It is still entertained. Okay. I'm not sure when I'll get the next one out, but it should hopefully not be too long. Anyways, hope you enjoyed, and have a marvelous day / night. Peace! Okay, so, this chapter. Daniel broke down, and now all his friends in the gaggle fuck treated him nicely. They think he's one of them, you know. All right, so why haven't I uploaded? My microphone broke, and I happened right around the time I was gonna take a break. But I fixed both issues now, so it should be same old schedule. Anyways, see you next time.